Let's talk news, shall we? Because talking of the West End, well, Just Stop Oil protesters disrupted a performance of Les Misérables at the Sondheim Theatre in London's West End. This happened last night while the cast were performing the bit of the show, which is an iconic protest song.
Yeah, they were holding orange banners. The protesters addressed the booing crowd before locking themselves onto the set. We can speak to Jonathan Swain, who's outside the theatre for us this morning. Morning to you, Jonathan. As Kate was saying, it seemed like an appropriate moment for them to jump on stage. The protest was happening within the musical itself, and people were slightly confused as to whether it was part of the show. Is there a reason why they targeted this show particularly?
Morning, Bear. It's all about the French rebellion, isn't it? Certainly rebellion here last night, and I'd say probably a few miserable faces as well in the audience, and who can blame them? It's a sought-after ticket in town, isn't it? They pay good money, and they were in the middle of enjoying the show. And you're talking about the famous songs. The songs that they interrupted was Can You Hear the People Sing? Well, no, not last night, because that's when the protesters got on stage, stopped the performance, much to the anger of the audience. Have a listen and a watch to what happened. Well, you can hear the boos and the jeers there from the audience and some comments that were shouting out. Quite politely, though, I have to say. That's probably what you'd expect from a theatre audience. They remained on stage, the protesters, until the police were called. And the police tell us this morning that 5 people were arrested, but the show was stopped. And the theatre given us a statement this morning as well, saying that fortunately there was no time to finish the show. They recognise the importance of people's freedom of expression, but they say they also have to respect the audience's right to enjoy this show. Tickets will try to be refunded. Well, Just Stop Oil, of course, are no strangers, of course, to causing disruption around the country. They've been throwing paint at famous works of art, such as Van Gogh's Sunflowers. They've covered government buildings in paint. They've caused a lot of disruption, haven't they, to the road network around the country, lying in front of cars, also lying down in front of motorways as well, having a sit-in, which has caused huge disruption around the country. And as you say, they probably targeted Les Misérables. It's about the French rebellion, certainly rebellion here on stage last night, but a rebellion that certainly angered a lot of the audience.
Yeah, Jonathan, thank you.
Because a lot of the audience, it's the sort of show which people come from a long way away, and even if they can get their tickets back, they won't get their transport back. I wonder if some people in the audience, Jonathan's saying there, they're very polite, were a little confused, because it's the moment when the red flag of rebellion's waving at the same time as the orange flags.
Well, it almost
probably
you could
didn't
see,
know at that
I think
point.
you could see as the protester first gets onto the stage, you can hear them singing, and the cast to carry on singing, because it could quite feasibly be part of the protest. You say, there's the famous red flag.
Yeah.
And they keep singing for a while, then all of a sudden, it's like,
they
hold on,
realise,
they're not supposed to be here.
You're not one of the team.
It's the disappointment for that audience that could have travelled a long way, some of them from other countries, undoubtedly. There's a lot of tourists there as well, but
those who are protesting will be saying, look, this is a musical about people standing up for themselves and won't be quiet again, and we're not going to be quiet either. Well, look, that is our top story. Coming up, we're going to be with the Mail's Andrew Pearce and the Guardian's Owen Jones. I'm sure that's one of the many things that we'll discuss there. Is the Just Stop Oil disruption of Les Misérables last night in the West End. The first time we've, to my memory, you might be able to tell me differently, that we've seen a theatre, we've seen sport, haven't we, in various forms and other things. And they did it at the exact moment in the show where the people are rising up and making their voices heard. What do you make of it?
Appalling. It's just appalling. Look, people pay a lot of money to go to the theatre. They probably save up to go. It's a big highlight of their year. And this is just selfish and stupid. And these people are, yet again, damaging their cause that they're fighting for. We all want to stop global warming and all that. This is not the way to do it. This is a really stupid, counterproductive idea.
They said this about the suffragettes. The suffragettes did.
They did not.
Yes, they did. The suffragettes at the time were hated. They were demonised. They did a lot more than just stop oil. They actually killed people. They blew things up with bombs. They smashed up art galleries. But people look back and think, well, look, the evil they were fighting against, the deprivation of the right of women to vote, was a far greater evil than anything the suffragettes did. And
so
I think in
that
the
sort of protest is acceptable climbing up on the
we
stage
will
at the
look
West End.
because what it does is raise attention to the fact that our species is in danger.
They're
And I know it's. Well, I don't agree with that because the more we talk, look, I'm now going to say just a basic point that we're going to have more extreme weather events that are going to force people from their homes and are going to kill people. Unless we take more urgent action, that will kill more people.
What did that achieve?
And I think it achieves us
achieve?
Talking about the climate and the threat to human civilization.
And driving people.
And do you know what? I'd be annoyed about it. We don't like things we like being disrupted, but there's nothing more disruptive than the climate emergency and the impact it will have on all of us. And that's my view, you know?
Big political, big
And I think in the future, in 30 years' time, they'll look at these discussions when they're suffering the full hit, and they will think,
Owen,
if only more people stood up and did something about the climate emergency, so we didn't suffer the consequences later on.
Les Mis has been on the West End stage for about 30-odd years. It's shameful what they did last night.
Well, I think it was in the spirit of Les Mis.
It was.
Shameful.
That was the point, wasn't it? I didn't think anybody quite could work out whether it was a protest or whether it was part of the musical.
For a few minutes, certainly,
It achieves nothing.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you
But I
both
love
for
the
joining
fact
us.
that we're leaving you disagreeing. It's bad when you leave agreeing.
Unusual.
Stop agreeing with me.
Good to speak to both of you this morning.